Welcome, everybody, to episode 5 of the Pinnacle Combat Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jim, and as always, I'm here with my boy, Dano. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, man? How we doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Couple crazy fights last night, huh?
There were yeah, it was those Brazil events. They do bring a lot of good viewing. I like their fights. I really do.
Big energy, big energy. I like it.
From the beginning too.
Yeah,
That's what's great, right?
yeah, it was
You know,
awesome. And they showed well, we'll talk about 301 in a second. I wanted to start with Canelo Alvarez, though. He had a fight last night against JB Maguire. I didn't get to watch the fight. I'm not sure you did either.
neither
Um,
did I. Just highlights.
yeah, so the guy, and again, we talked about this yesterday, but I don't know much about a lot of boxers because I don't watch as often as I probably should, and I'm trying to get back into it a little bit, but it's hard when you have a great UFC card the same night. But apparently he knocked him down. I put that on our story. It was a really clean shot, clean left hook to the jaw. And it was pretty one-sided after that, from what I hear. Did you hear anything about it?
No, not too much other than kind of what you just mentioned. That's just he was just too much for him, which you kind of figured that's what it would be. But I don't even know if it was all that competitive, right? Wasn't it, did it seem like it was rather one-sided, but or what did you
Yeah.
hear about that? Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of more one-sided.
I heard at the beginning. I think a lot of the judges gave Maguire like 3 or 4 rounds at most,
Okay.
and I think I heard that was early on in the fight. I'm not sure what round he knocked him down for the very first time ever. Also, um, but I guess after that, that's what changed the momentum, and Canelo just had his ticket after that, from what I hear.
Okay. Well, we'll see what's next. I don't know.
Well, apparently everybody want. I've been reading. Basically, I've been reading on CBS Sports that people in the crowd want him to fight a two-time champion David Benavidez, who's also unbeaten. And I guess
I have heard him.
he was sitting ringside also. And I guess when that was brought up, Canelo basically said, "I'm going to take my time," and people didn't like to hear that because they just want
Mhm.
more, which
Sure,
makes
sure.
sense. So Canelo's in a position where he can pretty much do whatever he wants. So I guess we'll see.
But that's inevitably what should be next. I've heard that name, so okay.
Yeah, and
That'll be it.
we'll have to try to watch that one when it comes around.
I was just about to say that that'll be one I'd definitely be interested in watching. But we'll see if it even happens. First of all, you never know
Yeah,
with
and
those type of.
his response also was, "If the money's right, I'll do it. As soon as possible." So it's all a money game in
Sure.
the end. So, but UFC 301 Rio de Janeiro last night, man, where to start? First of all, my girlfriend, she's super sweet, and I had a buddy come over, and she made buffalo chicken dip, and she made these amazing little burger sliders that she found a recipe for on Instagram, and
Oh, nice.
they came out so good. Yeah,
Oh,
she's a sweetheart.
you had me a
And
buffalo chicken dip.
right? Yeah, oh man. And today it's what? I'm on the West Coast. It's what time? 11:30 pretty much in the morning, and I'm going to have myself a Modelo for
Nice.
Jose Aldo cuz I love him.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah. Oh, that was so great to watch.
Yeah. All
I
right.
thought you I thought you were gonna say I thought you were gonna say, and I'm gonna take a shit. Like 11 because you just talking about all the food you ate.
No, I'm going to have it for Cinco de Mayo weekend.
Oh
Uh
yeah, I forgot it was Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, happy Cinco de Mayo.
yep. Um
Enjoy it.
but let's start with the main event. Alexander Pantoja defended his title against Urseg. What did you think of that fight?
It was a very entertaining fight, pretty back and forth. I mean, Urseg did quite a bit of damage. He did. That's probably number one thing he did positive in the fight. And man, I really feel like if he watches that fight back, which obviously he will, he's going to be kicking himself, man, because he had some opportunities, I felt,
Yeah.
um, to kind of, you know, I, you know, I understand there's a lot going on in there, and I know it's a 5 round fight, so you have to pace yourself. But there were certain moments there where, and then we could talk about judging too, because that was kind of questionable. We could
Yeah.
talk about the corner advice because some of that was questionable on either end, depending on how you look at it,
Hmm.
both sides. I don't think you. I just if you're gonna say anything as a corner, I feel like you have to be right. You got to be. You can't. There can't be any bias either way. You can't say that someone's up 3-0 when they're probably up 2-1, and you can't say someone's up down 3-0 when they're probably down 2. Like you got to be 100% honest. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Or
You're
at,
doing your fight no favors by lying to them.
or at the very least, err on the side of you're behind, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But you don't have to overplay it, and then that kind of changes his whole game plan. Because if you're telling a guy that he's down 3 rounds, all of a sudden his whole game plan might is thrown out. He gets a little more aggressive, a lot more aggressive. That's not necessarily a good thing. But if he's down 2-1, you're like, hey, listen, we need this round, and it's a different kind of conversation
Yeah,
when you
agreed.
still, it's just, man, I don't. I was hearing it both sides, and I just kind of didn't agree with both sides. They both saw it the similar way, but I thought they were both wrong. But we can get into what did you think about the actual fight itself? Because I kind of got into the weeds there with that, but I
Well,
still think it's
yeah.
important, you know?
Oh yeah, we can catch back up on that in a second. I right off the bat, not to take anything away from Pantoja at all. He's an amazing champion, and I love watching him. I love these flyweights because they're so fast and I don't know, man. They're gritty. They're gritty little guys, dude. And but Urseg, man, 3 fights in the UFC, comes into this fight in his hometown, like halfway
Oh,
across the world for him, for being from Australia, and he looked calm and ready, and he confident, and he had a great fight, dude. If Pantoja, he walks through shit, and I don't know how he does it, but there was some elbows and knees and even some good right straights that he just ate. And if there was anybody else, they would have been on their back. So Urseg, man, I got to give it to him, man. I'm a big fan now after watching him last night,
yeah, he's
and
very good.
I can't wait to see who they put him up against next. And I think he has a good chance against any of those top 5 guys.
Oh, for sure. I really think I think he had a very good chance to win that fight if he kept going at the way it was going. I especially after that 3rd round where he had that really good elbow that landed, got that real good cut going. Like that was a big turning point in the fight. I just feel like he could have put his foot on the gas a little more.
Yeah, he should have used that momentum in the fourth to solidify those next 2 rounds for sure. I guess probably that's one of the points where he's kicking himself. He was very hard
Yeah,
on himself after the fight.
yeah, especially that 4th round. He's gonna watch that 4th round. It's gonna haunt him because Pantoja took that 4th round off for the most part, and I understand why. That pace was crazy. So they're both tired. I get it, but if you're gonna say that you're a championship level fighter going 5 rounds, I feel like you should have plenty still going after 3.
Yeah.
You should probably be feeling that fights previous before that championship fight, but that 4th round, man, I know I'm gonna watch it. I'll watch that fight again today, but I think he's gonna be watching that fight, particularly in that round after having that good 3rd round.
Yeah,
He's
I
gonna be
think
kicking
I
himself.
think he won the 4th round, but I think he could have done more to bring that momentum into the fifth.
Yeah, I don't think Pantoja really wanted to engage much because all of a sudden he
Definitely.
stopped doing that. So it's like if you push the pace on him in a 5 minute window there where because he really looked like he was wearing it. Because they were right because the commentary kept mentioning a lot of times Pantoja just looks tired, but he's constantly going. It's like, yeah, he probably is. He just, but at some point everyone just gets to a point where they're, too exhausted to really engage. So he looked like he was on that point. I wish Usyk pushed a little bit more on him.
Yeah, in between that third and fourth round, where right at the end of the third, where you said, to your point, where he had that big cut in his forehead, he did, and they mentioned this in the commentary. He did look like he was going to throw up, and he was very
They,
worried about that cut, and he was leaking all over the place. And coming into that
yeah,
fourth round, he used it as like a recovery round for himself for the most part, and I think exactly what we're talking about. A newer Steve Urseg is a newer guy to UFC. This is probably his first 5 round fight, right? Um, you need to know when to turn up the pace and when the guy is vulnerable. And I think that fourth round, like to your point, I think that was his. Even though he won the round, I think that was his opportunity to really, turn on the Jets, so to say, right?
turn the tide and all that. Yeah, he could have really turned the tide on him in that fourth round. I really think that's gonna haunt him going forward. But the good news is he's so good, and he really showed he belongs. So he's right in that mix where he's just gonna get one of these top 5 guys, say, and you get one more win, you could put yourself right back, especially with the how good of a fight that was, how close of a fight that was for the most part. Very
Yeah,
competitive.
and I'd love to
So
watch it again too. I thought it was a great fight. And
100%.
also, one other
Flyweight
thing,
needs it. They
yeah,
need that too.
absolutely, yeah. And one other thing in the fifth round, a lot of people, the commentary, myself included, when I was watching it, I was screaming at the TV. He tried to take him down and like halfway through the fifth round, and I
That
didn't
was another one.
understand that
Yep.
at all. I was like, why?
100%.
I'm like, you're catching him on the feet. You have 2 big cuts on his head because of how good you're doing with elbows, and I don't know. I think he had his advantage was definitely keeping range and catching him coming in with that elbow, and he should have kept doing that. Pantoja's better on the ground, or really good on the ground, and he was scrambling, and I don't know. I just didn't understand the whole takedown. But this is why this MMA and UFC is so exciting, because it really is like it's a game of like millimeters and like inches and like tiny mistakes and decisions that you have to make on the fly. And I think it shows to how new he is to the sport and UFC and this level of competition that, yeah, like you said, I think he's going to look over this fight and there's going to be a handful of things that he would have done differently. And that's good. I think this is only going to make him better, and he's already really, really good. So I can't wait to see him again. But yeah, what
Oh,
a fight.
yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing about like the corners too. I just feel like that's a kind of responsibility on them. I could be wrong, but I don't know if anyone even said that in the corner. Go like when that third round ended, and then if anyone in his corner was just paying attention to Pantoja, because you're in the middle of the fight. The fighters themselves aren't going to really necessarily be in a position to be able to see that, but I feel like that could be. There's only going to be one guy in your corner like talking right away, so it's like someone can kind of peek over there and see how the other fighter's doing. And if
Yeah.
you see him looking like he's going to throw up, be like, bro, you push it on him, like
Yeah.
push the pace on him. Like that's kind of like one of those things you'd wish corners would do a little more of, instead of just yelling for no reason. Like that's not gonna help the fighter. That same corner, you can hear them screaming to get up, but they're not giving him any advice, like technical advice how to get up. They're just yelling it. It's like, well, that's not gonna, you know, you didn't think he thought of that standing up. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not that easy. Someone's holding him down, so it's just like I'm kind of waiting to see like some of that. You see these like absolute like dynamite corners, and you see these ones that are still like stuck in a different era. It almost seems like it's interesting. And I'm not even saying that about that fight necessarily, but you'll just see some bad corner work still, like advice, and just kind of wonder where that's coming from.
I
And
would
like,
I would wonder how, like, all right, obviously the fighter and his coaches are obviously going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to watch this fight over again, And I wonder how much is talked about that, with what the corner could have done better as opposed to what the fighter could have done better.
It might not even
Um,
be mentioned. It could be things that's not even mentioned in camps and in corners, and I don't understand why. Because in a moment where like you need that, you need to depend on the people that are giving you the advice for it to be like accurate, for it to be like relevant, for it to be motivational, right? Like the Leon Edwards coach, that's a perfect example going into the fifth round. To
yeah,
stop feeling sorry for yourself. That's a perfect thing to be saying. He's saying the right things to him.
yeah.
Um,
I
but
feel like a corner is a lot like, if I could use an analogy, a lot like a caddy is to a golfer. Because the caddies go out and they know they know the course. The golfers
yeah,
are actually just, I mean, the golfers know the course too, but they're looking on the advice of the caddy. Like, okay, what should I do here? They've done their homework, and they look at the advice of the caddy, and then they take their advice and they use their know-how to make the best shot. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing with the corner. It's like, you kind of know what you have to do as a fighter. They tell you a couple things maybe you didn't think of, and you use both of those things to make the right decisions in the next round. Um, and yeah, I think it's important to go back and go, hey, we should have been more clear on this. Next time we'll have a different strategy.
yeah, no, it isn't. It, it it's true. I'm sure it definitely just depends on the relationship. So it's going to that, talking about like a relationship between like was it Andre Pederneiras, the coach for Jose Aldo for all these years. Like
Yeah.
they just have like a specific relationship, but it's like, I mean, you're kind of waiting to see more of that. Like I understand, like you have some great coaches, but I feel like there's really no point of having you there if you're not really giving any good technical advice. Like I think that they need a little more of that and less of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
know
it's
what you
like
mean. Yeah, yeah.
kind of curious on that. And I wasn't even thinking about talking about that. It's just something I thought about when I was thinking about that one particular moment, and then it kind of sparked a bigger thought. But like that was only that one particular thing I didn't love about the corner advice was them just kind of conceding around that. Like, I don't necessarily think Urseg was down 3-0 going into the fourth. Like there was a lot. They were kind of conceding that like it was a fact. I'm like, well, I don't think that does him any favors. Like, good thing he has a tough mental, because you never know, a fighter could fall apart here and that. Fighting in Rio and championship fight against a Brazilian, you're going to the fourth round, you're already down 3-0.
Yeah.
Then you just become gun shy and then you lose the decision. It's like, I don't think that's a. I don't. Some of the advice you were hearing was kind of, you were scratching your head too.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I hear you, yeah. But overall,
um,
I mean, overall that fight was a great fight.
it was a really good fight.
And I
It
don't want to
was.
take anything away from Pantoja. Like I said, we love watching him fight. And he actually, for as bad as he got cut up, and he was taking a lot of shots, big shots, like I said, he kept his cool, and it was all business in there, as it always is with him. So I loved the main event. It was great. But let's get to Jose Aldo, man. What did you think of Jose Aldo?
He looked awesome. He looked great.
Yeah, he looked great. And like they were talking about online, oh man, I should pull it up, but it said 2011 he's fighting. They were like, when when he started fighting, I guess Sean O'Malley was in the 10th grade. John Jones was still a competitor. Like he hadn't won a title yet.
That's crazy.
What else did they say? All these other guys were like hadn't had a professional fight yet. Like Ilya Taporia, they said Drew Crest, what's his name? DDP. They hadn't had any
Duplessis, yeah.
professional. Yeah, they hadn't had any professional fights yet when he was fighting,
Wow.
and now here we are, 2024, and he looks arguably as good as he ever has last night.
Because he was mixing things up so well, man, and his hands look so good. The one thing I always thought about Jose Aldo was like his boxing wasn't, his hands weren't always as good as his other weapon, and that's more so because of how great his other weapons were, like all his leg kicks and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
it, a lot of his issues I thought was more like his footwork and his spacing, and his footwork and spacing is so much better. Just with that simple how whatever it was, a couple of years, and he had two fights, two boxing matches where he did well in both, I believe. So um, I'm pretty sure he won both, right? Do you know
I
that
don't
that's
know.
for sure?
I don't know, but
I'm pretty sure he
yeah.
did. But either way, he looked really good. I was watching; they were showing that too. But it's man, he looks great, man, and he's still not that old. He's what if 37? It's just
Yep.
it's amazing to watch him fight. He truly is like just a legend. I remember I was watching him in WC when I was in high school.
Yep.
It's crazy. He's been
Yeah.
around forever.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy, man. Like, I don't know. I love that they did the whole crown, him walking out and everything. It was just, I don't know. I smiled that whole fight. And I like Martinez, man. I think he's no joke. That dude is a hell of a fighter. And he did pretty good actually. Considering how good Aldo looked, Martinez is no slouch, and he looked great in that fight. He like,
not at all. He's a prospect.
yeah,
But one of his biggest weapons, talking Jonathan Martinez, is similar to just different location, but similar to what Aldo always did so well. But Jonathan Martinez he throws a great inside leg kick on orthodox fighters. It's just that it didn't seem to affect Aldo. I know he checked like one or two, like in the beginning, he seemed to have was trouble timing it, but
mm-hmm.
then he got it for like one or two, but it didn't seem to affect Aldo, which is whereas like a lot of orthodox fighters that have fought him had struggled. He's even stopped someone. He's what's his name? Adrian Yanis.
Oh yeah,
He's
they
also
showed.
like a prospect.
Yeah,
They
they showed
stopped
that
him.
that replay a bunch of times last night.
Yeah, he stopped him with that same leg kick. So it's just like that's one of his better weapons, and I just feel like Aldo took that away, and he was kind of the better boxer too, which I think probably surprised Martinez. I don't
Yeah,
think he was expecting that. So
and they mentioned this last night in the commentary too. But one of the things that I noticed before they mentioned it was how crisp and straight his punches were. They were just getting right through his hands,
it looked awesome.
Martinez's hands. He just looked so crisp, and like you said, he mixed it up really well. Like he was up top, then he'd go to the body. He's always been really
Great body
good.
work. Yep.
Yeah, he's been really good at like mixing up his like you don't know what's coming next. It's hard to defend, and he's so fast and so accurate that it's I don't know. He's always been hard to deal with. That's why he's Jose Aldo. He literally should probably be on the Mount Rushmore of UFC MMA legends forever. And I'm so pumped that he's back. I can't wait to see who he fights next. I know Cheeto wants to fight him, so that'd be awesome.
Yeah,
We'll we'll
there's a
see.
lot out there.
Yeah.
That's a great division. So and I was worried because you just don't want to see someone that put it this way, it's just like he just proved everybody wrong that it was even worried about anything
Yeah.
because he looked I can't tell you how great he looked. That was one of the better parts about watching that card because it would have been a bummer if he kind of just got flatlined in a round and didn't quite look that great, which I didn't think that was going to happen. But you worried about it, like he's a legend, so it's like you want to see him go out well. And man, he looked phenomenal, man. It was a great showing.
Yeah, and Jonathan Martinez was really devastated. I think he was tearful, and I think that was a lot because he. And they were saying in his corner in between rounds, you gotta put aside your respect for this guy and do what is necessary right now. Um, and maybe that's why it was so emotional for him. Because of he's fighting Jose Aldo. He probably grew up watching this guy, and here you are on the biggest stage in his hometown of Rio, all the energy and everything, and he just didn't perform the way he wanted to. But with all that
Yeah,
said, man, Jonathan Martinez looked fantastic. He looked great. He really did. It's just Jose Aldo. I don't know, man. I don't want to say it, but I do. He looks like his old self, man. Just a crisper, more accurate, better version of his old self.
He looks dangerous. He doesn't look like he's ever out of position. Like he didn't look like he was out of position much in that fight at all.
Yeah, never.
He wasn't putting like. Yeah, he looked. It looked like that boxing training has really paid off for his MMA career, as far as just because of how his IQ and how he mixes things. He's always mixed things up well. But the sharper your tools are, and then you also combine that with how well he mixes things up, man. Like you said, he really did look like his old self. He's still throwing. Maybe he might not be throwing the crazy ass like jump bicycle knees he used to throw, but he still was throwing. He was throwing some dangerous. He was still throwing head kicks, still throwing knees. But it's like he looked. I'm like very excited to see who he fights next, which I wasn't expecting to have that reaction after the fight. I really wasn't. So that's why it kind of stole the night for me. That's probably the highlight.
And if he keeps this up, if he keeps doing what he's doing, I don't say this about older fighters very often, but I think he could win a title. I think he will win a title again if he keeps up this type of energy and this, whatever he's doing in camp. Keep everything you got going there, and if you keep bringing performances like that, absolutely he can win a title again.
At the very least, you'll be right back in that top 5 mix. At the very least, so he'll be around there, especially with the he's going to get a high profile fight next.
Yeah.
So,
all right, moving on. Probably one of the most surprising endings of last night's fights. Anthony Smith guillotines Petrino. Neither of us had Anthony Smith winning. What'd you think of that?
No, sir. No, that was surprising. I mean, it was one of those ones. I didn't love the way it went down. It just seemed like it was like kind of just an absolute mistake on Petrino's part. But you can't take away anything from Anthony Smith. He came out and did exactly what he should. That's exactly what he should have tried to do as far as game plan wise.
Yep.
Kind of mixed up the leg kicks a little bit. He was kind of just mixing up just enough, and then ultimately trying to get to the ground and work submissions. And that's exactly what he ended up pretty much doing, and not even having to get the fight to the ground, really, right? I mean, for the most part, but it was a great win. He needed that bad.
Yeah, he did. And his leg kicks were nasty too. That Petrino couldn't even stand on that left leg, that lead leg.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, and he's a huge dude. His back, oh my God. I was like...
He's a very big dude, so...
Yeah, he's a big guy. And, I mean, you watched him before? I've never seen any of his fights, I don't think. Have you seen him fight Petrino before?
Petrino, yeah, like once or twice, but he just seemed like a big, powerful guy, but he wasn't like... I didn't think he did anything like crazy well yet because he was so green. He was just like a big physical... Like, obviously, he's going to be someone who's going to knock out power.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because it was a fight that going in, you knew how Anthony Smith would have to win, and it was just kind of with the experience and well-rounded game and being able to mix it like that. And it was, it was a surprise, but it's like at the same time, not really, right? Because that's kind of how you knew he was going to have to get it done, so...
Yeah, well, that's how a veteran fighter should fight, right? I mean, they said
absolutely.
when he was coming in, Anthony Smith had more professional fights than anybody else on the card. He had 56 professional fights coming into that fight. So in terms of, and that's exactly what I'm talking about with, Urseg being so new to the game. It's like you're going to make little mistakes, and hopefully you go back and you and your team will see, hey, maybe we shouldn't have done that, and next time we'll know better. And, yeah, I just want to see more of Petrino. I want to see, and maybe we can find some fights online that I just never watched him. I just want to see what he can do. But good for Anthony Smith, man. I've always been on the fence about, just personally about liking him, like not him as a person, but as a fighter. I've always been on the back and forth. But I'm glad he got the victory. Like you said, he definitely needed that victory. and I think that's going to give him confidence to continue fighting. I don't know what his timeline in his head is as to like when he's going to be done, but he's probably only got a handful of fights left in him, if I'm guessing. So I'm happy he got that win, and I don't think a lot of people were betting on him. So
No, we definitely weren't. We lost like everything again, right?
yeah, we won one bet. I won 96 cents.
So, hey, at least you can't say you didn't go win. You weren't winless. So,
Yeah.
but
Well, let's move on to maybe one of the most exciting performances of the night. Michel Pereira and Poteria. That was
yeah, it was
wild.
wild.
I remember because the guy that came over, my buddy that came over for the fights, he was like, "Holy shit! I've never seen anything like this. This is crazy." He's like, "Imagine what that guy on the ground is thinking." Poteria, what is he thinking? He's like, "This guy's really backflipping right now. Like, what's going on?" Oh my god!
And did he? What landed on his face? Was it his shin?
His
Was it his
knee.
knee? It's
Well,
like
it looked like it
kind of a gray area there.
yeah, it almost hit him in the face. I think it hit him in the shoulder. And
Okay.
the judges were talking afterwards whether or not that was an illegal strike, because if it did hit him square in the face, you can't knee a downed opponent, obviously. But yeah, in the end, they didn't talk. They kept the victory exactly how it was. Guillotine choke, standing guillotine. So, but wow, I mean, Michel Pereira, come on, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was nuts. It really was. It was, and then he did. That's what were they saying? Talking about, I believe it was him talking about how tight that squeeze must have been because he got him in that standing guillotine, and as they're breaking it up, as he's tapping and they're breaking it up, he's still going out, and he already let him go. Like he was just.
Yeah.
It was a man, but that was a kind of a danger. Those standing guillotines are always kind of dangerous there because when they go out, you just never know how they're going to go. I know it's like it's easy to say that with you have knockouts all the time, so it's like what's worse, but it's like you always like hope they get hope they come to soon because you didn't want them to start because he started to seize up a little bit, but it was good that he was okay. That always makes you nervous when you see those ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially when they go back and hit the back of their head like that. But it's a brutal game. It is what it is. It's one of those things. But
do you know where he's ranked? Where does this put Michel Pereira now? He's got to be
I don't
top
know.
10 now, right?
What is that? 3 wins for him in middleweight now?
I think so.
I'm not sure if it's that, but he's still relatively new, so I didn't really know where he was ranked in the first place. If he was at 170, so I'm honestly not really sure where this puts him, but he's a dangerous fight for anyone just because he's so unpredictable and he's just just kind of strange, just out kind of does things on his own on his own time. Like that was so weird. I don't. It's a weird. Well, yeah. What do you do to defend that? What do you do when that's happened? Like, what do you? I don't even know what what would you think would be the right proper defense for that, Jim? As someone's back flipping through the air, about to land on you. Like, what do I do?
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. I think he did exactly the only thing he could have done. Just cover up and go, what the hell's going on here?
Brace for impact. Brace for impact.
Yeah, that's it. And then, I don't know, he just looked, I mean, Michel Pereira is a great fighter. He just looked great. And he's got that energy about him. He did the backflip off the scale and he was doing nip ups and everything. Yeah. He's crazy. And he was breakdancing after his win in the ring. It was, yeah, he's fun to watch, man. I can't wait to see what they have for him next.
I know that it'll be fun. It'll be just another guy that adds to that division because middleweight really it's super talented, and that division has a ton of talent in it now too. They've kind of gotten a few. They're getting quite a few people from like 205 coming down. They're getting kind of a mix of all people coming up from 170.
Yeah.
Um, man, I really wish those rumors were true about the other division, but it doesn't seem to be. But as it stands now, that it's shaping up for a lot of really good contender fights coming up. A
Yeah.
lot of these guys, and they're kind of almost making them. The fights are almost making themselves. You know.
Well, like that brings us to the first fight on the card, also a middleweight fight, um, which I wasn't sure how it was going to go at first. Barallo and Paul Craig, because they're
Yeah.
both beasts. Um, and that's what we picked differently on that one. And also, so for people that are listening, if there's anybody listening, on our Instagram at Pinnacle_Combat, on our bio, we have uh, basically our records for how right we were just on the main cards of every pay-per-view. So, Dan, you got one extra win than I did on this particular fight. You picked Barallo, and I picked Paul Craig. What did you think of that fight? And what do you think about Barallo now that he won in a pretty decisive fashion?
He did. It was a really good win for him. Paul Craig he's a dangerous fight for anyone for a few different reasons. But the only thing I don't love his his boxing offense. Like just doesn't give you enough. He's getting walked down too much. Like you can't be getting walked down that much in the fight, especially when the guy's this big and hit that hard. It's just it seemed like a recipe for disaster. He wasn't getting enough respect. He was just only throwing leg kicks.
Yeah, and
So you kind of can see that coming.
his takedown timing needs to get better too. I think
Yeah,
that was a big thing. He needs better timing. I think he had one takedown that I remember where it was like perfect timing. I'm like, see, that's what you got to do right there. That timing. It's like almost like a counter. It's instead of a counter punch, it's a counter takedown, and then you can bring him to where you need him to go, and you can work your talents on the ground, and it would have been a different fight. Well, Barallo is a tough. You know, he makes it really difficult, which is his job, right? So. Yeah, I mean
Oh,
Barallo
for sure.
he just looked great, and I can't wait to see what they got for him next. Middleweight, like you said, I mean you could see Michelle Pereira and Barallo fight. That might be an awesome fight, and they're right around the same. Like you said, the fights are kind of making themselves, right?
There's a lot of those guys. Yeah, you could put, and I only say that because you could match any of these guys up, and it's going to be quality matchups and quality fights because they're just so high level now.
Yeah.
All these guys could be ranked, but it's just there's only room for 15 in every division. It's just one of those things. So uh, it's tough to hold your spot, and it's tougher than ever. Um, yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see who's next for both those guys. But
Yeah.
they both, in their own right, they both look great. We'll see.
There's two other fighters I want to talk about that we were high on before, in yesterday's podcast, and also before
Who's that?
this event took place. Is Drakkar Klose defeated Joaquim Silva. You were big on Drakkar Klose, and he that was a dangerous fight, man. And
Yeah,
we had a bet on Drakkar Klose, and I was like, oh man, this could easily, because he was being a little reckless in there.
He was.
He wasn't
Yeah.
being as safe as I was hoping for, but he got the victory. That was the only bet that we won. I'm pretty sure. Right? Something like that? Yeah.
So that was our 96 cents.
Actually, no, I think this is another fighter I
93.
want to talk about. I think Bonfim was our 96 cents.
Okay, nice. Yeah, he looked really good. I mean, that's the uh tough guy he fought who's been around a long time, and he's not an easy person to even hurt much. Like he just doesn't show. He's always been like that in his UFC careers. I don't know how many times he's been knocked down, if at all. Like I think he might have been stopped once, but I'm just going off memory.
Yeah.
But
And who's this? Silva or Pinchel?
Pinchel.
Yeah.
But Joaquin Silva, I mean that dude is just look at the way he's built. that's a tough fight for anyone in that weight class because he's like built like a, you know.
Yeah, he looks incredible. Oh,
So,
and I lied. There's one other guy that we have to spend some time on. Mauricio Rufy.
oh yeah, he looked awesome, huh?
Dude, he annihilated. I feel bad, but Jamie Malarkey just
Fast, dude, speed,
he
oh,
didn't have a
speed.
chance, bro. Like, and a lot of people were, and I said this before they said it in the commentary, that his stance and his fighting style looks a lot like Conor McGregor.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely has comparisons to it.
Yeah, he bounces in and out. He's got that wide stance, and he just flings those punches at you.
Big power,
And
big power.
he had
Yeah,
that cool I don't know what you call it. Maybe you know the name. The trip that he did. Remember that?
yeah. I'm not sure what they call that, but that was cool.
Yeah. He's dude. I can't wait to see what because he's fun to watch. That guy. I commented on a couple. On our Instagram. There was a couple guys I commented on. He was one of them. Rufy, I commented on his page, and I also commented on Urseg's page because I even though Urseg lost, I think he had a really great performance, and his future's promising. So both those guys were very impressive to me, at least. So
No, for sure. I hope he gets thrown a big fight because he belongs with the top guys, I believe. So especially talent wise. So we'll see.
yeah,
It's lightweight, right? So that's a tough that's a tough division. So there's a lot of sharks in that pool. So we'll see what he can offer. But
well, anything else that you wanted to touch upon while we're here? Because I
no,
think we went
overall,
over pretty much
for the most
everything.
part, I think you're right. For the most part, we did. But it was just another really good card, top to bottom. I enjoyed watching it. There was a lot of good fights. It was a good fight. Good fight card.
Well,
Especially,
while we're here, while we're at it, why don't we preface the next pay per view? UFC 302
oh yeah,
in New Jersey.
that's a big one. That's a big one, huh?
I'll bring up the card real quick.
That brings up a lot of fight implications for like who's next for who and for what reasons, you know. Like if Poirier can beat Makhachev, that changes kind of the landscape of a lot of people's fight plans potentially,
Yeah,
especially a guy like Holloway, say.
exactly. Yeah, and then speaking of middleweight, you have Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa. That's huge. That's a huge fight. That's going to be a five
Oh,
round fight. So,
yes, that's good thing it's five. That's perfect.
and then how well do you know these other guys? Do you have it up, or I can read them off?
I can check it out too. Let's see.
We got Randy Brown and Elizu Dos Santos. Do you know them? Jamaican fighter
Yes.
Randy Brown.
Oh yeah, definitely Randy Brown. I've seen Dos Santos too. Um, he had been around for a while. I'm not sure if he had like a stint somewhere else with a different organization, but he's been in the UFC quite a bit. But I kind of lean towards Randy Brown in that fight. Um, Jailton Almeida and Romanov will be really good, but I like Jailton Almeida. Roman Kopylov, you've seen him, I'm sure. And Cesar Almeida, I believe he's like one of someone who's a kickboxer. I believe I don't know if he beat him. He may have beaten Pereira,
Oh, is that the guy? Okay, I remember them talking
but I
about that.
believe he's the kickboxer. Yes, that is. So that's
Ooh,
interesting too.
okay,
So
all right.
that card looks pretty good if you ask me.
Oh, we got
That main card.
Nico Price, and Alex Morono. That's gonna be great.
Oh, Mickey
Welterweight.
Gall's back.
Mickey Gall, huh?
That's
Nice.
interesting. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, but speaking especially about the main card itself, that's a pretty damn good main card. I like a lot of those fights. So,
Yeah,
um,
and like we said last time, yesterday, it's really hard after you have a card like UFC 300.
oh yeah,
But I can't wait for Makachev Poirier. And you got to wear your
but
Poirier shirt that night.
yes, we will. Yeah, yeah. There are plans for that. But Almeida and Kopylov that's a fight I would circle. That should be a striker's This should be a fun striking fight, I would imagine.
Okay, cool.
Um, but we'll get into that at a later date. But that's awesome. No, it's
And next week
a
we
nice
have
fight card to look forward to.
a big heavyweight fight. We got the Beast,
Derek
Derek
Lewis,
Lewis, baby. If you like knockouts,
that's
this is the guy to watch.
Nascimento,
Yeah.
who's Brazilian, I believe, as well. Is he not?
Yeah, he is. Yep. And we also have Joaquin Buckley on a short. He didn't take much time off, did he?
No, he did not. No,
Because he
against
wanted St.
Rosbayev.
Louis, because that's where he's from, St. Louis, right?
Yes,
And oh yeah, Ruzabov. He fought a week or two before, or after, or on the same card as him.
it was around then. It definitely was recent. I was just thinking that he's the one, that big 6'4" or whatever he is, middleweight.
Yeah.
He's a big fella. So
Yeah,
that's a
he also walked
interesting
through
fight.
who he fought. Yeah.
But you figure Buckley, as big as Buckley is, he's also, what is he, about 5'9" or so? So that's a very big difference. And he might be a little taller than that. But what is
Oh
Buckley?
yeah.
What is
Buckley.
Buckley?
Let me see if it
Can't be
says it
much
on
more
here.
than that.
He doesn't say on here, on UFC.com at least. Yeah, he's a short, stout, just powerhouse of a guy. Yeah, I don't know what his height is though. But yeah,
I
in
would say,
terms of reach,
yeah,
he's gonna have to get in there and dirty box and get
it'll be,
creative.
it'll be interesting. So we'll see how that goes.
And we
But
also
that's
have Alex
to look forward to.
Caceres. Alex Caceres. I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, Bruce Leroy.
Yep. Oh,
Who's
Chase
he fighting?
Hooper. Hold on. Alex Caceres is fighting Sean Woodson. I think I've
Oh,
seen
that's a
him.
tough fight.
That's a good fight.
He's got good hands. Really
Yeah.
good boxer.
And then we got Chase Hooper. He's fighting Borshev, a Russian guy.
Ooh, okay.
This is gonna be a pretty good
Little free
free
card.
card. Yeah.
Oh, they have so many fighters on the roster. They can make these cards easily, with
Yeah.
the amount of fighters they have.
We're also two things I want to mention before we go. Apparently last night John Anik passed the record for most called fights in UFC history. Did you know that?
I did not. That's awesome.
Yeah, so
He's the man.
he is awesome. I love him. So congratulations, John Anik. Love that guy. And then the other thing is, a month from now, apparently, is the new Ultimate Fighter is starting up with
I
Valentina
did see that.
Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso. So that should be good.
Yeah, it must be doing still pretty well for them to still continue with it. So I haven't stayed up on it the last season or two it's been around.
Yeah,
But I kind of out from the outside watched it. It's kind of like with the Contender series. I might not watch it live, but I'll watch it that week and kind of catch up on some of the fights if I hear
yeah,
certain names and people that got signed. But um, it we'll see what the I don't know. Do you know what the fighters are as far as the weights?
Oh no, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure.
We can talk about that next time then.
Yeah,
As it gets closer, but that'll be, hey, anytime this fight's on, it's a good time. So
yeah. Oh, and then how dare I forget? This should have been brought up right off the bat. Shogun. Shogun in
yes,
the Hall of
that's
Fame. That
that's
guy.
this summer, right? Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
we might have to
and
do a flashback episode on him because he's
that would be
awesome.
that would be a good one to do,
Yeah, we'll
especially with
see.
the timing of it all.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that could be our next. That could be our next one. That's a good idea.
yeah. All right, man. Well, I always love doing this with you. Let's end it there if that's all right with you. Unless you got anything else to say.
Absolutely. No, that works for me. That sounds good. It was just another good pay-per-view and another solid night of fights. And like you said, looking forward to the free one. And then just around the corner, you got the next pay-per-view, and that one's very much looking forward to that.
Yeah,
So
June 1st, Newark, New Jersey. It's gonna be
June's
great.
going to be crazy.
June's gonna be
June is
crazy.
a big month for fights.
Yeah,
So
they got that Saudi Arabia card, and then a week later you got Connor's return. Man,
oh, it's going to be wild. So looking forward to it.
and maybe one of these pay-per-views will win some fucking money.
Hey, it's not, we'll give it hell, but let's not hold our breath. We gotta.
All right, Dan. Always
Well,
good talking to you.
you
We'll
too,
be
man.
back next week. If you listen, thank you for listening. We always have to say this at the end, but we do have an Instagram and a YouTube channel where you can find all these podcasts. We're also on Spotify. The YouTube and the Instagram is the same username. It's at Pinnacle_Combat. So check us out there. I always post at least stories every day. I don't post posts every day, but I try to keep up on it. And MMA has been crazy, UFC, with all the announcements and stuff. So go check that out if you like UFC. And yeah, we'll be back next week, right, Dan?
Absolutely, man. No, it's been great. So looking forward to the next one, as always.
All right,
Great
buddy.
talking to you.
I'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. Take care.
To everybody else, peace.